I still can't believe we're doing this, I said, staring at the white walls of Dr. Patel's clinic. The place smelled like disinfectant and hope. After everything, it almost feels unreal. Lena smiled faintly, her fingers tightening around mine. It's real, Ethan. This time it's going to work. I can feel it. I looked at her face, and calm, perfect, unreadable. You said that the last time, too. I know, she whispered, eyes down. But this time, I'm sure. Her certainty should have comforted me, but something in her tone felt rehearsed, too smooth, too careful. Dr. Patel entered, clipboard in hand. Mr. and Mrs. Reed will start the procedure tomorrow morning. The lab will prepare your samples tonight. Any questions? Lena's grip on my hand tightened again before I could speak. No questions, she said quickly. I frowned. Actually, She cut me off with a smile. We've done this before, Ethan. Let's just trust the process. Dr. Patel nodded politely and left the room. When the door closed, I turned to her. Why'd you stop me from asking? She blinked. Because you overthink everything. I just want this to go smoothly for once. I'm not overthinking. I just wanted to know about the sample storage. Ethan, she interrupted again, her voice sharp now. Can't we have one day without you turning it into a science lecture? The tension hit like a slap. I stared at her, feeling the distance between us widen again, the same invisible wall that had been growing for months. I forced a breath. All right, no questions. Her face softened instantly. Thank you. The nurse called her name from the hall. Lena stood up, brushing invisible dust from her coat. I'll handle the paperwork, she said. You wait here. As she walked away, her phone buzzed in her bag. I caught a glimpse of the name before the screen dimmed. Ryan. My stomach turned. Ryan Hale, her ex-boyfriend. The one she'd sworn was ancient history. I tried to shake it off. Maybe it was nothing. Maybe she still had friends she didn't tell me about. But that name echoed in my head like a curse. When she returned, she looked almost too composed. All done, she said, slipping her phone back into her bag. I tried to smile. Who was that? Who was what? Your phone, it buzzed. I saw a name, she paused. Just a client, she said easily. Work doesn't stop just because I'm trying to get pregnant. Right, I muttered. Of course, she leaned over, kissed my cheek lightly. Don't do this. Not today. I wanted to believe her. God, I wanted to. Later that evening at home, she hummed softly while cooking dinner. The sound used to calm me. Now it just filled the silence. You seem happy, I said, trying to sound casual. I am, she said, smiling over her shoulder. Aren't you? I'm trying to be. She turned off the stove and walked over to me. Then stop trying so hard. Her hands rested on my chest. We've been through hell, Ethan. Let's not ruin this with more suspicion. I'm not suspicious. Yes, you are, she said softly. You've been watching me like I'm going to run away. Can you blame me? Her eyes flickered. If you can't trust me, then what are we even doing? I looked away. Trying to fix something broken, she sighed, stepped back. Maybe it's not broken. Maybe it's just tired. That night she fell asleep fast. I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, wondering when love had started to feel like walking through glass. At 2 a.m., her phone buzzed again on the nightstand. My hand moved before I could think. The message preview glowed faintly. Ryan. Everything set for tomorrow? My pulse roared in my ears. I opened the message. Lena. Yes. He doesn't know anything. For a full minute, I couldn't breathe. I slipped out of bed, pacing the dark room, the words burning behind my eyes. He doesn't know anything. My mind spun. Who was he? Me, obviously. But what didn't I know? By morning, I'd convinced myself it had to be something small. Maybe she was helping Ryan with work. Maybe anything. At the clinic, she was unusually calm, her voice light, too bright. Dr. Patel will meet us in 10 minutes, she said. Everything's ready. I studied her. Lena, I saw your messages last night. Her smile froze. You what? Ryan texted you. You said he doesn't know anything. Who doesn't? She laughed, forced, brittle. Ethan, seriously? You're reading my private messages now? Don't twist this, I said quietly. What's going on? She crossed her arms. You're paranoid. It was about a charity article. Ryan's wife works with me, remember? Since when? Since always. You just don't pay attention anymore. She walked away before I could respond. Dr. Patel entered moments later, all smiles. We're set to begin. The samples will be processed today. I nodded numbly. As Lena followed him into the lab, she turned to me and said, "We'll get our happy ending, I promise." I wanted to believe her again. I really did, but her eyes didn't match her words. Later that night, as she slept, I stared at her face, peaceful. Untouched by guilt, I whispered into the darkness, "If you're lying to me, Lena, I'll find out." She didn't stir, and I lay there awake, my heart beating to the rhythm of a truth I didn't yet know, the truth that would soon destroy everything. The waiting room felt colder than usual. Maybe it was the hum of the air conditioner, or maybe it was Lena's silence beside me. She scrolled through her phone, pretending not to notice my staring. "Do you ever think about what comes after?" I asked. She didn't look up. "After what?" "After the treatment. When we finally have a kid," she smiled faintly. "I think about it every day." There was something distant in her tone, like the words weren't meant for me. Dr. Patel opened the door. "Mr. and Mrs. Reed, come in." Inside, the room smelled like sanitizer and secrets. He gestured for us to sit. The results from the previous cycle look promising. This next step should be smooth. Lena nodded quickly. "Good. I just want everything perfect this time." Dr. Patel smiled. "Of course. We'll double-check every detail." While they talked, I drifted off, my mind half listening. Then I heard it. A low whisper as Dr. Patel leaned toward her. "Do you still want me to adjust the donor details?" I froze. Lena's eyes flickered toward me, then back at him. "Later," she murmured. "We'll talk later." Dr. Patel straightened immediately. "Excellent. Ethan, any concerns?" My mouth was dry. "What did you just say?" He blinked. "Pardon?" "About donor details." "I heard—" "Oh," he interrupted smoothly. "Just a technical term. We sometimes adjust donor IDs in our system for privacy reasons." I looked at Lena. She smiled too quickly. "It's nothing, Ethan. Confidential stuff." "You know how clinics work." My stomach twisted. "Right, confidential." Dr. Patel flipped a page on his clipboard. "We'll begin retrieval next week. Until then, try to relax." "Relax," I repeated under my breath. When the appointment ended, Lena grabbed my arm as we walked out. "Don't start." I didn't say anything. "You're thinking it," she snapped. "What am I thinking?" "That I'm hiding something." I stared at her. "Should I not?" She exhaled sharply. "God, you make everything sound like a crime scene." "It's just a medical process, Ethan." "Then why did he say donor details? We're not using donors." She met my eyes for a long second before looking away. "You must have misheard." "No, I didn't." "Then maybe he did. Doctors mix up words all the time." Her voice trembled slightly, the first real crack in her control. "Are you sure?" I asked quietly. "Yes." That single word carried too much weight to believe. In the car, the silence pressed down on us. She turned on the radio to fill it. "I hate that station," I muttered. "I know," she said softly, "but it's better than your suspicion." That hit deeper than I wanted to admit. "Lena, what? If there's something you need to tell me, now's the time." She stared straight ahead. "There's nothing to tell." "Then why do I feel like I don't know you anymore?" "Maybe because you stopped trying." The words cut clean. I looked out the window, counting the passing lights like they could distract me from how hollow I felt. At home, she moved around the kitchen with mechanical grace, pouring wine, lighting candles. "This feels sudden," I said. Watching her set the table, she smiled. "Can't a wife cook for her husband without interrogation?" "Sure," I said, forcing a smile. "Just surprised, that's all." She placed a glass in front of me. "I thought we could have one nice night. Forget the clinic. Forget everything." Her voice was soft, her eyes warmer than they'd been in weeks. For a moment, I almost believed her. But when she reached across the table to hold my hand, her fingers trembled. "Ethan," she whispered, "I love you, okay? I know you doubt me sometimes, but I'm doing all this for us." "All what?" "This," she said vaguely. "Trying to make it right. By hiding things?" Her jaw tightened. "You twist everything I say. I just want the truth." "You already have it," she said, standing up. "You just don't want to believe it." She walked away, leaving her wine untouched. I stared at the glass for a long time, then whispered, "If you loved me, you'd tell me the truth." Later that night, I heard her in the bathroom on the phone. Her voice was low, urgent. "No, he doesn't know," she said. "Just keep everything ready for tomorrow." My heart pounded. I moved closer to the door, barely breathing. "Yes," she said again. "Dr. Patel mentioned it, but I covered it up." "He suspects nothing." A pause. Then her voice softened. "I promise, Ryan, after this, it's done." Ryan, that name again. I stepped back before she opened the door. She froze when she saw me in the hallway. "How long have you been standing there?" "Long enough," I said quietly. Her eyes darted away. "I was talking to my editor." "Your editor's name is Ryan now?" Her expression hardened. "You're unbelievable, am I?" "Yes!" she snapped. "You twist everything into betrayal," I didn't reply. I just watched her walk past me into... Time dulled the noise, but not the ache. Months passed. The world moved on, but Lena didn't. The headlines faded. Her career didn't survive. I read one last article with her byline before she vanished from print entirely. After that, silence. I spent my days between feedings, cries, and tiny fingers curling around mine. The twins had Maya's calm and my stubbornness, proof that something pure could survive what we'd done. Marcus visited sometimes. "You look tired," he'd say. "I am," I'd reply. "You ever think about her?" "Every day," I admitted. "But not the way you think." One evening, as rain blurred the city lights, someone knocked. I opened the door and froze. Lena. She looked like a ghost draped in skin, pale, trembling, eyes swollen from nights without sleep. "Ethan," she whispered. "Please don't close the door." I didn't. I stepped aside. She walked in slowly, her gaze darting around the apartment. "So this is where you live now?" "This is where we live," I said, nodding toward the crib. Her eyes softened when she saw the twins. "They're beautiful." "They are." A silence stretched, thick and uneasy. "I didn't come to fight," she said. "I came because I can't live like this anymore." "Like what?" "Empty." She looked at me. "I lost everything, Ethan. My job, my friends, my name. Everyone looks at me like I'm filth. But none of that hurts like losing you. I stayed quiet. You think I haven't paid?" She continued. "Every day is a punishment. Every night I dream of those babies, our babies, and wake up remembering they're not mine." "You made that choice," I said. "You built the lie," she nodded, tears spilling. "I did, and I hate myself for it. But we could have fixed it." I looked at her then, really looked. The woman I once loved, the stranger she became. "We couldn't fix it," I said softly. "We were the disease." She flinched like the words hit her. "You really believe that?" "I lived it." Her voice broke. "I loved you, Ethan." "No," I said. "You loved the version of me that made you feel untouchable. When that disappeared, so did your love." She wiped her face, trembling. "Maybe I deserve this. Maybe we both do." She took a step closer. "Do you hate me?" "I don't have the energy for hate anymore." "Then what do you feel?" "Nothing that resembles love." Her breath hitched. "I just wanted you to forgive me." "I can't," I said. "Not because I don't want to, but because forgiveness means pretending it didn't change me." She stared at the twins again. "They'll never know, will they?" "They'll know they were loved. That's all that matters." She gave a small, broken laugh. "You always did sound like a writer when you were lying to yourself." I almost smiled. "Maybe." She turned to leave, pausing at the door. "You won, Ethan." "No one wins in a war like ours." She left without another word. The rain swallowed her as if the world was done with her story. I stood there for a long time, holding the silence she left behind. Days passed, weeks. Then one afternoon, Maya came by. I hadn't seen her since the truth came out. She looked different, calmer, as if she'd made peace with everything I hadn't. "You look better," she said. "I'm learning to exist again." She smiled faintly. "I didn't come to stay. I didn't expect you to." She glanced toward the twins, sleeping in the crib. "They look peaceful. They don't know what they came from." "Maybe that's mercy," she nodded. "They'll grow up knowing love, Ethan. That's more than most." Silence lingered. "Maya," I said quietly, "I don't know how to thank you." "Don't." She looked at me gently. You don't owe me gratitude for something that broke us both. I swallowed hard. Do you hate me? No, she said. I forgave you the day I understood why you did it. Why? Because you weren't trying to hurt her, not really. You were trying to stop hurting yourself. Her words sank deep. She reached out, touched my hand once. Brief, weightless. You destroyed her, she said softly. But you also destroyed the part of you that loved. I didn't argue. When she left, I stood by the window, watching her disappear into the city. The twins stirred behind me, small reminders that life moves even when you can't. Karma hadn't come like thunder. It had come quietly, through silence, loss, and sleepless nights. Maybe that was the point. Maybe true punishment wasn't destruction. It was endurance. The morning air was still when I parked by the cemetery gates. The twins were at school, laughing somewhere, living the life I once dreamed of. I walked down the gravel path, the crunch of my shoes the only sound. The white lily trembled slightly in my hand. Morning, Lena, I whispered. It's been a while. The headstone looked the same, polished, quiet, undeserving of the chaos buried beneath it. I brought your favorite, I said, placing the flower down. You used to say lilies meant purity. Guess we both ruined that meaning, didn't we? I half smiled, half sighed. You'd probably tell me to move on, that holding on is poison. But I do it anyway. Maybe because it's all that's left of us. The wind brushed past. Like a ghost exhaling, I remembered the hospital, her eyes wide, the twins crying, my words slicing the air. You wanted a family built on deceit. Now live with it. I thought it would feel righteous. It didn't. Do you know what the twins are like now? I said softly. Emma's got your stubborn streak. And Noah, he looks at me the way Maya used to. Kind but distant, like he knows I've done something unforgivable. I chuckled bitterly. Maybe he has my instincts, a voice startled me. Talking to ghosts again? I turned. Marcus leaned against a nearby tree, hands in his pockets, face aged but gentle. You still check on me, huh? I asked. Someone has to, he said. You look better, though. Peace suits you. Peace, I repeated. That's one word for it. He stepped closer. You ever regret it? I met his gaze. Which part? The revenge? The silence? Or loving someone who made me a stranger to myself? All of it, he said. Every day, I admitted. But regret's just another form of memory. I've learned to carry it without letting it crush me. Marcus nodded slowly. You ever tell the twins? No, I said. They deserve clean stories. Not blood-stained truths, he gave me a sad smile. You always were good at rewriting pain. I had to be, I replied. Otherwise, I'd still be stuck in that hospital room. He placed a hand on my shoulder. You did what you thought you had to. Doesn't make it right, but it makes it human. I don't even know what right is anymore, I said. I thought revenge would balance the scales. Instead, it broke the weights completely. He looked at the grave. You ever wonder what she'd say if she could see you now? She'd probably call me cruel, I said. Then she'd smile, that fake perfect smile, and tell me she deserved it. We both did, Marcus sighed. You've punished yourself long enough, Ethan. Maybe it's time you forgive yourself, too. I don't know if I can, I said quietly. Forgiveness feels like forgetting, and forgetting her feels like letting part of me die again. We stood there for a long moment, saying nothing, just two men haunted by a woman neither of us could save or fully blame. Marcus finally broke the silence. Maya still checks in sometimes. She asked about you, I exhaled. She forgave me once. That's more grace than I deserved. She said something that stuck with me, he said. He destroyed her, but he also destroyed the part of himself that loved. I nodded. She was right. After Marcus left, I sat by the grave until the shadows grew long. I traced my fingers over Lena's name. You know, I murmured. I used to think betrayal was the worst thing that could happen to a man. But I was wrong. The worst thing is realizing you became the very thing you hated. The breeze stirred again, lifting a strand of my hair. I closed my eyes. I'm not angry anymore, I said. Not at you, not at me. Maybe that's what healing really is. Not forgetting, just not bleeding anymore. I rose to my feet, brushing the dirt from my knees. As I walked away, I looked back one last time. The lily gleamed white against the gray stone, pure again, somehow. I thought of the twins, their laughter, their future untouched. by the sins that birthed them. Maybe that was enough. Maybe surviving was the only victory I'd ever get. I whispered the words I'd rehearsed in my head. For years, the ending of everything, and the beginning of peace. In the end, betrayal didn't break me, I said. It became the mirror I finally learned to see myself in. When Dr. Patel called me back to the clinic, I thought it was about scheduling. His tone over the phone had been too calm, too professional. Just routine paperwork, he'd said. I believed him, until I saw the look on his face when I arrived. Ethan, he began, standing instead of sitting, we need to discuss something important before proceeding further. My pulse quickened. What happened? He hesitated. It's delicate. I'm not even sure how to start. Try the truth, I said flatly. He exhaled slowly. There's been a discrepancy in the lab records. A mismatch between your signed authorization and the genetic samples used in the fertilization cycle. I stared at him. Mismatch? Yes. What kind of mismatch? He looked away. Your sperm sample wasn't used. For a moment, I didn't understand the words. They hung there, meaningless sounds. What do you mean it wasn't used? I asked finally. Whose was it then? Dr. Patel's silence said everything. My throat tightened. Say it, he swallowed hard. Ryan Hale's, the room spun. I grabbed the edge of the desk just to keep upright. You're lying. I wish I were, he whispered. Her forms, they were forged perfectly. I didn't question them until I noticed the timestamps. I laughed, sharp and bitter. You're telling me my wife replaced my DNA with her ex-boyfriend's and you didn't notice? She provided valid documentation. She had your signature on record. You thought wrong, I snapped. He rubbed his forehead. I'm deeply sorry, Ethan. I'll report it immediately if you want to press charges. I stared at him, words gone. Charges against my own wife? My mind flicked through images. Lena smiling at me that morning saying, this is for us. For us, I muttered aloud, then looked back at Dr. Patel. You'll keep this between us for now. He blinked. Are you sure? Yes, he nodded slowly. If you insist. I walked out before he could say another word. Outside, the world looked the same. Cars moving. People talking, as if the universe hadn't just split in two. When I got home, Lena was on the couch typing on her laptop. She looked up and smiled. You're home early. Yeah, I said, forcing calm. Clinic ran ahead of schedule. That's good. I studied her. The way her eyes didn't flinch. The way she closed her laptop just a second too fast. How was work? I asked. Busy, she said. You? Eventful, she raised an eyebrow. Oh? Dr. Patel told me something interesting. Her smile faltered for a split second, then returned. Oh, what's that? Apparently, I said, sitting beside her, someone's been adjusting details without telling me. She laughed, forced. Ethan, please don't start that again. Not me, I said quietly. You. Her hands froze on her lap. What are you talking about? The clinic records, I said. The samples. You switched them. She stared at me, pale now. That's insane, is it? Yes, she said quickly. You're paranoid. You've been imagining things ever since. Since you lied to me? She stood, voice shaking. I didn't lie. I did what I had to do because you stopped believing in us. I rose too, my voice dropping to a cold whisper. You replaced me with him. Her eyes flashed. You don't understand. Oh, I understand perfectly, I said. You couldn't control me anymore, so you tried to create something that tied me to you forever. Except you made it with him. Tears welled in her eyes. I just wanted a family. With Ryan's DNA, I hissed. That's not family, Lena. That's manipulation dressed as motherhood. She covered her face. I didn't think you'd find out. I always find out. Her sobs filled the room, but they didn't move me. Not this time. After a long silence, she whispered, What are you going to do? Nothing, I said. Absolutely nothing, she lowered her hands. You're lying. No, I said softly. You are. I walked past her to the balcony, needing air, needing distance. The city lights blurred through the glass. Behind me, she said, You still love me, don't you? I didn't turn. I don't even know who you are, her voice cracked. Ethan, please don't, I said sharply. Every word you speak is a weapon. She fell silent, and for the first time in years, the quiet didn't scare me. Later that night, she tried again. I made a mistake. I panicked. I thought maybe if I gave us a child, you'd stay. Stay? I laughed softly. I was already here. You're the one who left. I didn't leave. Yes, you did, I said.
The day you let Ryan back into your life. Her eyes filled again.
You don't know what it's like to feel empty. I looked at her. You have no idea what emptiness is. She turned away, whispering, So what now? Now? I said, calm again. We wait. You'll get your happy ending, Lena. She looked at me suspiciously. What do you mean? I smiled faintly. Nothing. Just trust the process. Isn't that what you said? She didn't reply. When she went to bed, I stayed in the living room, staring at the faint glow of the city through the window. My anger had cooled into something sharper. Clarity. Because the truth was, I'd been ready for this. Something in me had known. 2 weeks before the procedure, I had already replaced her egg samples with Maya's, my ex-fiancée, the one she had driven away years ago. I told myself it was insurance, a test of loyalty. Now it felt like prophecy. While Lena slept peacefully down the hall, I whispered to the night, You wanted control. Lena, you wanted to play God. I smiled bitterly. So did I. The next morning, she acted like nothing had happened. Coffee, toast, small talk. You seem calm, she said cautiously. I am, I replied. Maybe everything's finally in balance, she frowned. You're scaring me. Good, I said, meeting her eyes. That means you're finally feeling what I've felt for years. She opened her mouth. But no words came. I finished my coffee, set the cup down, and walked out. The sun was just rising, golden, silent, indifferent. As I stepped into my car, I thought about the embryos in that clinic, growing quietly inside the lies she'd built. Her betrayal had been cruel. Mine was surgical, and when the truth surfaced, it wouldn't just destroy her, it would rewrite everything she thought she controlled. Ethan, look. Lena's voice trembled with excitement as she held up the ultrasound picture. That's our baby. I leaned closer, smiling just enough. Beautiful, I said softly. Looks like you, she laughed, brushing her hair behind her ear. You think everything looks like me? Maybe that's just how I see the world, I replied. My tone was calm, measured, too measured. Inside, my chest felt like a locked room filled with smoke. Dr. Patel handed her the printout. Everything looks healthy. Keep taking your vitamins and avoid stress. Lena nodded. I will. He's been taking such good care of me. She glanced at me, her eyes shining with affection that felt rehearsed. I smiled for the doctor's benefit. I try. When we left the clinic, her hand slipped into mine. You've been different lately, she said as we walked toward the car. Quieter but softer. Maybe I'm just happy, I said. We're finally getting what we wanted. She squeezed my hand. I told you everything would work out. Yeah, I murmured, opening the car door for her. You did. The ride home was filled with small talk, baby names, nursery colors, shopping lists. Her voice had a new rhythm, one that danced between guilt and joy. Every laugh she gave sounded like a confession she was too proud to admit. When we got home, she turned to me. Do you want dinner? I can make pasta. Sure, I said, taking off my jacket. I'll help. No, sit down, she insisted. You've done enough. I watched her from the kitchen doorway as she hummed softly, moving like nothing in the world could touch her. I studied her face, the way her eyes sparkled with self-assurance. She really believed she had fooled me. When she turned, catching me staring, she smiled. Why are you looking at me like that? Like what? Like you're seeing me for the first time. Maybe I am, I said. She laughed and went back to stirring the sauce. Well, I hope you like what you see. I do, I whispered, mostly to myself. Later, as we ate, she reached across the table. Thank you for not giving up on us. I told you, I said, meeting her eyes. I'm not the kind of man who gives up easily. Her smile faltered for a split second, barely noticeable, but it was enough. After dinner, she leaned against me on the couch, her head on my shoulder. You're so calm now. I thought you'd still be stressed. About what? Everything. The procedures, the risks, the expenses, I shrugged. Stress doesn't change outcomes. You've changed, she said quietly. Maybe I finally learned patience. She chuckled. Or maybe you learned to trust, I smiled, resting my hand on hers. Yeah, maybe. Inside, I felt the slow burn of irony. Trust. The word hung in the air like a ghost between us. The next day, Marcus stopped by while Lena was out shopping. He dropped onto the couch with his usual grin. Man, you've been hard to reach lately. Busy, I said, sipping coffee. You know how it is? He studied me for a moment. You seem off. Off? Yeah, not in a bad way, just different. Like you're wearing a mask, I laughed. A mask? You sound like a therapist. I'm serious, Ethan, he said, leaning forward. You used to talk to me about everything. Now it's like you're running on autopilot. Maybe I got tired of talking, I said. He frowned. Is everything okay with Lena? Better than ever. Then why do you sound like a man rehearsing his happiness? I looked him straight in the eye. Because maybe happiness takes practice. Marcus sighed. Whatever's going on, I just hope you're not burying something. Don't worry, I said quietly. Everything's exactly where it should be. When he left, I stood by the window, watching his car disappear down the street. My reflection stared back at me, calm, unreadable, almost serene. Lena came home later, arms full of shopping bags. Look at these, baby. Push, Lena. You're doing great. The nurse shouted over the hum of machines. Lena's hand crushed mine. I can't, Ethan, it hurts. You've got this, I whispered. My voice was calm, almost detached. Just one more push, she screamed again, and the doctor's voice followed. Here comes the first one. A cry pierced the room. Sharp, fragile, real. Lena burst into tears. Oh my God, is that? I stared at the small, wrinkled creature in the nurse's arms. It's a boy, I said quietly. She sobbed, gripping my arm. A boy, Ethan, we have a son. The nurse handed me the child. His warmth seeped into my hands. Unfamiliar, heavy, perfect. I forced a smile and handed him to Lena. Here, I said. Meet your miracle. She kissed the baby's forehead, trembling. He looks just like you. I swallowed hard. Does he? Before she could answer, another contraction hit. She screamed again, the air electric with pain and joy and something darker underneath. Second one's on the way, Dr. Patel said. Almost there, Lena, one big push. She screamed, and minutes later, another cry filled the room. Twin girls, the nurse said, smiling. Healthy and strong. Lena collapsed back, sobbing with joy. Twins, she breathed. Ethan, twins? We're parents. I looked at the second child, smaller, quieter, eyes barely open. My chest tightened. She had Maya's lips. The shape was unmistakable. The nurse placed the baby in Lena's arms. Congratulations, both of you, Lena cried, clutching the babies to her chest. We did it. We finally did it, I nodded slowly. Yeah, we did, Dr. Patel smiled politely. I'll give you both a moment. She and the nurses left, the door closing softly behind them. The room fell silent except for the faint cries of the newborns. Lena looked up at me. You're quiet. Say something, I forced a breath. They're perfect, she smiled weakly. I still can't believe this is real. Neither can I. Tears rolled down her cheeks. After everything we went through, all those nights crying, all those tests, I thought maybe we'd never get here. I sat beside her bed, staring at the children. You wanted this more than anything. I did, she whispered. And now it's real. We're a family, a family. The word rang hollow. I leaned forward, brushing the hair from her forehead. You should rest. Not yet, she said. I want to hold them longer. You'll have time, I replied. All the time you need. Her eyes softened. You're shaking. I'm just overwhelmed, I said. It's a lot. She smiled and leaned her head back. You're a dad now. You'll be amazing. Yeah, I murmured. Something like that. A knock interrupted the moment. A nurse peeked in. Mr. Gray, someone's asking for you outside. Says his name is Ryan. The air froze. Lena's face drained of color. What? I didn't answer. I stood up slowly. Tell him I'll be right there. The nurse nodded and closed the door. Lena's voice trembled. Ethan, why is he here? Good question, I said, buttoning my jacket. You didn't tell him, did you? I looked at her, expression unreadable. Why would I? She gripped my wrist. Don't talk to him, please, just let him go. I gently pulled away. I'll handle it, her eyes filled with panic. Ethan, but I was already walking out. The hallway was quiet, Sterile. Ryan stood near the window, hands in his pockets, a nervous smirk playing on his lips. "Ethan," he said. "Hey!" "Ryan." He glanced toward the door behind me. "I heard she delivered. Twins, right?" I stared at him. "You shouldn't be here," he shrugged. "Just wanted to see them. You know, my kids, your kids?" My voice came out low, cold. He hesitated. "Lena told me, look, I don't want trouble." You think you're their father?" She said the samples got mixed up. Stop talking," I cut in. He blinked. "Ethan," I took a step closer. "You came here to see something that isn't yours." "You don't belong in this story," he frowned. "What the hell does that mean?" "It means you've been living in a fantasy," he scoffed. "You think you can keep me away forever?" "I don't need to keep you away," I said softly. "You'll walk away yourself once you realize what's real." "What's that supposed to mean?" "You'll see soon enough." He looked uneasy now. "Ethan, whatever this is, don't make it worse." "Worse?" I smiled faintly. "Trust me. The worst already happened." Before he could respond, I turned and walked back toward the room. Lena looked up the moment I entered. "What did he say?" "Nothing important. Did you tell him to leave?" "He will," she exhaled shakily. "I'm sorry, Ethan. I didn't mean for him to show up." "I know." Her voice cracked. "Please don't hate me." "I just hate you?" I repeated. "No, Lena, I don't hate you." She blinked, tears welling up. "Then what do you feel?" I looked at the babies. "Relief! Relief!" "Yes," I said quietly. "Because it's finally over." Her lips trembled. "Over? What are you talking about?" I stepped closer, lowering my voice. "You wanted a family built on deceit. Now live with it." Her mouth opened, but no sound came out. I turned toward the door. "Ethan, wait," she cried. "What does that mean?" I didn't answer. "Ethan!" The door shut behind me. The hallway echoed with her voice, breaking, desperate. I walked past the nurse's station, past the waiting area, past the sound of newborns crying behind glass. Outside, the air was sharp and cold. Ryan was gone. I stood there, breathing in the silence, watching the city lights flicker against the wet pavement. My phone buzzed. A message from Maya. "Are they here?" I stared at the screen for a long moment, then typed, "Yes, they're beautiful." Her reply came fast. "Do you regret it?" I smiled faintly. Not a bit. I looked back at the hospital one last time, the place where lies were born and truth quietly triumphed. The door behind me opened. A nurse called my name, but I didn't turn. I walked away, my footsteps steady, my silence louder than any confession could ever be. The morning it all broke, my phone wouldn't stop ringing. "Ethan, are you seeing this?" Marcus's voice cracked through the speaker. "Seeing what?" I asked, though I already knew. "Turn on the news, man." Right now, I did. The screen filled with chaos. Reporters outside the hospital, flashing cameras, Lena's name in bold. Genetic scandal at IVF center, 2 cases of tampering exposed. I turned off the TV. "So," I said quietly, "it's out." Marcus was breathing hard. "Tell me this isn't what I think it is." "What do you think it is?" "They're saying the twins aren't biologically hers, or Ryan's." "What the hell, Ethan? What's going on?" I looked out the window at the gray sky. "Truth," I said. "That's what's going on." He paused. "You sound cold." "Maybe truth has that effect." "Ethan, don't, Marcus." "Not now." I hung up before his conscience could reach me. The next call came from Detective Ward. "Mr. Gray, I think we should talk." "When?" Now, the precinct smelled like old coffee and rain. Ward sat across from me, files spread out like cards in a losing hand. "Quite a storm you stirred up," he said. "Mind telling me your side?" "My side?" I leaned back. "You already have it, don't you?" He smirked. "I have facts. I'm curious about the man behind them." "Facts are cleaner than people," I said. "Stick with those." Ward flipped open a folder. "Dr. Patel's statement says your wife asked her to switch your sperm sample with another donor's. Specifically, a man named Ryan Collins." I said nothing. "Apparently, she brought forged authorization forms." I stayed silent. He tapped another file. "Then Patel says you replaced the egg batch before implantation, without her knowledge." "She didn't ask where the new forms came from?" I asked. She claims you both manipulated her. For different reasons. That sounds poetic, I said. Two lies crossing paths. Ward studied me. Why? Why what? Why go that far? You could have divorced her, exposed her, walked away. I laughed softly. You ever love someone so much that destroying them feels like the only way to let go? He didn't answer. Then you wouldn't understand, I said. Ward's tone softened. You realize those kids, they're innocent, I cut in. More innocent than any of us. He leaned forward. Do you regret it? I looked him straight in the eye. I regret ever needing to, he sighed, closing the folder. Your wife's being questioned next. I don't think she's holding up well. Lena never did well with consequences. When I left the room, reporters swarmed the entrance. Cameras flashed. Someone shouted, Ethan, did you know about the tampering? I kept walking. Silence was my only defense. By evening, the whole world knew. Ryan's wife, Clara, gave a tearful statement. He lied to me. She lied to him. They all lied. The headlines feasted on it. Betrayal, science, and scandal, Lena called that night. Her voice was hoarse, trembling. Ethan, please, what do you want? I asked. I didn't mean for this to happen. You meant for something to happen, I said. You just lost control of it, she sobbed. They're saying I'll lose my job. My reputation's gone. Everything I worked for, maybe that's the price. The price of what? Deceit. Her breathing grew shallow. You sound like you wanted this. I wanted truth, I said quietly. It just came wrapped in chaos. You did something, didn't you? I didn't answer. Ethan, tell me. Would it change anything? She went silent. They tested them, she whispered. The twins? They're not mine. Not Ryan's. How could you? I closed my eyes. You made a family out of lies, Lena. I just made sure it matched. Her voice cracked. You used Maya's eggs? You remember Maya? I asked. The one you called a distraction? The one who loved me before I learned how to doubt? Ethan, I didn't plan it out of cruelty, I said. I did it because I knew you'd never stop lying until someone made you face yourself. She started sobbing again. You've ruined me. Push, Lena. You're doing great. The nurse shouted over the hum of machines. Lena's hand crushed mine. I can't, Ethan, it hurts. You've got this, I whispered.